Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We're going to get started in just a minute while we give folks just a few more moments to join today. All right. I think we're going to get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again. My name is Shannon Serrato, and I'm Director of Engagement here at Cradle-to-Career. And it is so lovely to have you all join us today to discuss our latest report, the Student Experience Report, out today. We have a full community conversation ahead of us as always, but we're going to go over a bit of housekeeping before we jump into today's session. So first, you may have seen that this meeting is being recorded and will be made available on the Cradle to Career YouTube page, as well as posted to the C2C site under meetings and community conversation in the coming days. It'll probably be up later today if you're just champing at the bit and want to see what happened this afternoon. Equity and accessibility are central to our work, and our meetings are made available in the languages needed for the populations that we serve. So to that end, today's session is closed caption enabled. So to turn on captions, you can click the three dots at the far right bottom of your screen. This may have changed, Zoom changes a lot, but you should be able to find captions and select your preferred language by launching the CC button. And we are once again glad to have Spanish interpretation services offered for today's session, with a big thank you to Leticia Reina for joining us this afternoon. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Leticia, who will provide a few instructions on how to enable interpretation for today's meeting.
Thank you, Shannon. Will do now. Muy buenos días a todos. El día de hoy, por haberse asignado para esta junta, el día de hoy, mi nombre es Shannon Serrato. Yo voy a estar dando la junta. El día de hoy solamente vamos a dar un poco de mantenimiento, instrucciones de mantenimiento a cómo poder tener acceso a la junta. Esta junta está siendo grabada, va a ser subida a nuestro sitio web más adelante, después del día de hoy. Siempre estamos con equidades y con acceso a los lenguajes que podamos dar. Vamos a tener ahora las capciones abiertas para que sean enabeladas. Ustedes solamente pueden poner los tres puntos hacia abajo de su pantalla y seleccionar su lenguaje preferido. Al igual, para los servicios de interpretación, solamente también escogen su lenguaje de preferencia, sea el inglés o el español. Usted va a buscar el icono abajo de su pantalla que aparece en forma de un glóbulo para tener acceso al lenguaje. Si usted gusta, puede mudar también el lenguaje mayor para escuchar los servicios en el español. Muchas gracias. Thank you. Back to you, Shannon.
Thank you so much, Leticia. So with that, while participants are muted for today's meeting, you're welcome to ask any questions that you may have in the chat. We'll be using the chat a lot today, but if you have a specific question about this year's report and you really want to make sure it gets answered, please drop it into the Q&A button or the box to make sure that we see it. There will be a lot of conversation happening in the chat and we may not see everything. So if you have a burning question and you really want to make sure we see it, please feel free to drop it in at any point and we'll make sure to look at it at the tail end of today's session. And finally, I want to highlight that we are utilizing the community guidelines that we created with you all to guide today's meeting. We want to make sure, as always, that we are fostering a brave and respectful shared space, and we appreciate your commitment to creating community with us. Okay, so now we're going to learn more about each other. About Cradle-to-Career, the California Cradle-to-Career Data System is a statewide longitudinal data system that provides tools to help students reach their goals and delivers information on education and workforce outcomes. C2C is connecting individuals and organizations with trusted information and resources. We're providing insights into critical milestones in the pipeline from early care to K through 12 to higher education, skills training, and employment. And the data system empowers individuals to reach their full potential and fosters evidence-based decision-making to help California build a more equitable future. And if you are curious and want to learn more, we invite you to visit our website at c2c.ca.gov. Okay. Now, the fun part where we get to hear from you all. So, you have heard this before. If you join a community conversation, this is my most favorite thing we do here at Cradle to Career. It's our direct line of communication with the public, less formal. We get to hear from you all about the things that we're doing and what you all are looking forward to from us. And so, as always, we want to know who is in the virtual room with us today. So, we would be glad if you can join in by sharing your name, organization, and where you're joining from today. While we give folks a moment, I will model. My name is Shannon Serrato. Again, I'm the Director of Engagement here at C2C, and I'm joining from very sunny Oakland. I'm very glad that it is sunny outside. We've got Stephanie with UC Davis. Thank you for joining us, Stephanie. While we wait for other folks to come in. Oh, always, I don't know why I do this to myself. I'm going to go slow. We're going to look at people's names because they come in fast. We've got Gary, CSU Long Beach, Alexis Takagi. Thank you as always for joining us. C2C Advisory Board member Lauren Flores, with Central San Joaquin Valley K through 16, K-16 Partnership in Fresno, Carol Ortega, Long Beach Unified, Laura Owen, SDSU, former advisory board member. Thank you for joining us. We've got Garrett, Friends of the UC, Shayla Tapua. Thank you for joining. Always happy to see your name. Got Melina, St. Mary's College, Heather Daniels, C2C, joining from Sacramento, SAS, California Medicine Schools program. This is a special note for you, SAS, SOS. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name because you're a person who joins us a lot. I want to make sure I'm getting it right. And it's good to see you, Shayla. Okay, we're going to turn to the next question because I've already buried the lead. We've got a lot of people joining us, but is this your first community conversation or have you joined us in the past? I've already seen a lot of friends, but if you are new to C2C, this is your first community conversation, we'd love to say welcome. We've got Alex Ruiz, Inland Empire. I'm going to keep reading while we give folks a moment to respond. Monica, also from California Medical Scholars Program. Davil Jackson, Inland Empire, K-16 Collaborative. We got a lot of K-16 Collaborative folks online today. Thank you for joining us. Okay, let's turn to the last one. Oh, Carol says no, she's joined one previously. Thank you for joining us. Okay, something fun. So just a few short days, we're going to enter into one of my most favorite seasons, the Olympics. I love Winter Olympics. I love Spring Olympics. Doesn't matter. Summer Olympics. If it's international sports, I am there. And so I want to know if you could medal in one Olympic event, either real or imagined, what would it be? I personally like to think if I just practiced really hard and I knew how to ski and I like the snow, that I would be really good at moguls. So that would be something that I would be really excited to do. So I want to know from you, what would you do? What would be your Olympic sport? What would be your Olympic event? It doesn't have to be real. Could be that you pack really good goodie bags for your kids' classrooms. I know I do that a lot. Maybe I should get a medal of that. What would you get a medal in? I'm going to go back up to the list. We've got Yasamin Lorian, Director of Outreach at UCLA Targent Center, first time. Thank you so much for joining us. Katie Santos Coy, thank you for joining us at CCGI. Thank you, Chanel, for putting your name pronunciation in there. We appreciate you joining us. No takers for Olympics. Nobody wants to win a medal. Just me. Okay. We say Jake says curling. Okay, we've got some folks. An Olympic medal for crocheting. Yes, that would be great. Table tennis. Okay, Jada says this is first time attending. Looking forward to learning more to help our students thrive. I want to win figure skating. Perfect. Gary says swimming. Elizabeth says I want to win a donut eating. Me and you both. I think we might go toe to toe there. Okay, great. Thank you for remembering me, you all. I appreciate it. We can turn into the rest of today's session. Next slide, please. Okay. So, as I mentioned, today's session will focus specifically on the student experience report. We're very glad to be able to share that with you all today. And we're very glad for the collaboration that we have had with our partners at the California Education Lab at the University of California, Davis. But before we turn to that bit, we're going to go over a bit of C2C updates, and then we're going to have Q&A before we close today's session. Okay, next slide, please. So if you joined today's conversation or last week's, not last week's, 2 weeks ago, or we had a community conversation, the days are escaping me, apologies. But these may not be new updates, but we always want to share updates that are coming down the pike. So I just wanted to give a brief update around things that we've got going on. And so very excitingly, Executive Director Marianne Bates will be on the Degrees of Change podcast, California Competes latest podcast, talking about Cradle-to-Career and data and all things exciting. And so that episode we anticipate will be coming out next week. We're super excited to have that out in the world. We're very excited to be invited. And we'll be sharing more on social media and via our emails once it goes live. And so just stay tuned for that. We're very, very excited for that. And then we've just got a lot of meetings that we are very glad to have you join us for. And so this time next week, we will have our first strategic planning committee meeting. C2C's governing board will turn their focus on the new strategic plan for C2C. So if you're excited and thinking about the vision and mission and future of C2C and would like to follow along, you can join us virtually next week. We'll also be hosting our final informational session for our lesson plan challenge. Our lesson plan challenge is a way to invite teachers to use the student pathways data story and the information in the dashboards to instruct their students using our tools. And so if you're curious about that, you can join an informational session next Friday at 4 p.m. We are trying to meet educators where they are, so the time is to be more in alignment with folks may be more available. Not everyone can join us during lunchtime on a Wednesday. We know that, so we appreciate them. We're hoping that we can answer any questions and connect more like-minded folks on this work. So if you're interested, you can sign up for that session by going to the website under Get Involved in Lesson Plan Challenge. The informational session sign up is there. And then just a note that submissions close March 16th. So if you have any burning questions, burning curiosities about that, please feel free to reach out. We have real staff, real folks who will be joining the line. And so if you have any curiosities, want to learn more, we encourage you to sign up. And then lastly, just want to share that our governing board will be meeting for the first time in 2026 at the end of the month in person in our office at 400 R Street in Sacramento. Again, that'll be an in-person meeting, but you are welcome to join us both in person or virtually. We'll be live streaming the event. So I'm glad to have you with us. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Jacob Jackson, Director of Research Partnerships with the California Education Lab, to kick off today's conversation on the annual student experience report out today. Thank you for joining us, Jake, and over to you.
Great. So thanks so much for having me. Longtime fan of C2C. I'm glad to get to present. So like Shannon said, I'm Jacob Jackson. I'm Director of Research Partnerships for the California Education Lab, and that's at UC Davis. First, I'll just talk a little bit about who we are. So the California Education Lab is a collaborative group of researchers investigating important questions of education policy and practice in the state of California. And you can see on this map our data partners highlighted, each of the public segments of K-12 and higher education systems in the state, as well as Student Aid Commission and our newest partners, Office of Cradle-to-Career. Much of our work focuses on understanding how young adults are prepared for and transition into and succeed in college, but we also do work all along the educational pipeline. Our projects explicitly aim to understand and improve persistent inequalities in educational attainment for students from different racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic backgrounds. So as a testament to our cooperation, the report that's attached to this presentation has co-authors across institutions, myself, McCall Kurlander, Stephanie Lynn Lopez, and Christina Sun from the California Education Lab at UC Davis, and Judy Chan, Heather Daniels, and Felicia Smith from the California Cradle-to-Career system. We go on to the next slide. So I'll talk a little bit about the high school senior survey. We worked with CSAC and Cradle-to-Career to survey California high school seniors in the spring and early summer, right during, before, and after they graduated from high school. And our survey covers three main areas: high school experiences, post-secondary plans, and lastly, college expectations. So for high school experiences, we asked questions of high school seniors about navigating college readiness, courses they took in high school, and we had a special focus on career planning they did while they were in high school. For post-secondary plans, the next section, we asked high school seniors about what post-secondary choices, like whether to attend college or what college to attend, what pathway to choose. We also focus specifically on transfer intending students. These are students who plan to start at a community college and transfer to a four-year university to obtain a bachelor's degree. And we asked them some subset of questions as well. And lastly, we asked about college expectations, including challenges students might face or excitements they had about college. And this all together gave us kind of an overall picture of high school seniors, graduating high school seniors in the state of California. Pretty unprecedented view of their takeaways from their time in K-12 and launching to the next part of their lives. So a little bit about the survey. We constructed the survey, like I said, with Office of Cradle-to-Career and Student Aid Commission. And we did a survey last year. It was kind of the same setup. So we have students in 2025 who are graduating, and we also did the same thing last year, and that report's available online as well. In the spring and summer, just as students were graduating, we reached out and emailed every single student who applied for a FAFSA, which is a free application for federal student aid, or the CADA, the California Dream Act application. These are the two applications for financial aid in the state. They're a gateway for accessing financial aid, including grants, which students don't have to pay back, or as well as student loans or work study if they're eligible. We asked these students 63 questions, up to 63 questions, a mix of selected response questions, open response questions. And we also asked students if they would be willing to be interviewed, and many said yes. So we conducted over 16 interviews on Zoom with graduating seniors. So the survey invitation and link were sent to every single high schooler who filled out a FAFSA or a CADA by July 11th, 2025. And we wanted to get a picture of California high school seniors, and it's tough to get a picture of every single one for a couple reasons. One, not everybody fills out a FAFSA, and we know this. A few years ago, California enacted a policy that put schools in charge of getting all high school seniors to fill out a FAFSA or a CADA or officially opt out of the process. This past year, the state estimates that 3/4 of high school students filled out an application, which is great news. But that's not everybody. The second problem is that not everyone who fills out a FAFSA wants to fill out a survey. So these are high school seniors or students who had just graduated who are busy, perhaps thinking about finals, perhaps thinking about graduation, their futures, their careers, summer. So we had about 7,000 responses from the thousands and thousands of high school seniors that we surveyed. The good news is our sample is pretty representative of California's diversity, both in terms of race and ethnicity, in terms of gender, and even geography, which we'll get to. Next slide, please. So we started the survey off asking students about navigating college readiness, a big topic. We asked students about the coursework they took and whether it would be enough to make them eligible for California's four-year universities, the California State University, which I'll call the CSU in this presentation a lot, and the University of California, which I'll call the UC quite a bit. Students need to take and complete, with a C or better, a series of 15 courses to become eligible for UC and CSU, and these are called A to G courses, and many of you are probably familiar with this. 3/4 of the sample that we surveyed said they were on track to complete A to G, but 19% of students were unsure if they're on track to complete A to G, and this is in spring of their senior year. So often in the report, more in the report than the presentation, but often in the report, we'll compare students based on different characteristics. And here in the slide, I'll just compare one set of students. Those with parents who did not attend college, we call them students who would be first-generation college students, to students who have at least one parent who attended college. We will call those in the report continuing generation students. So you can see here that first-generation students were less likely to be on track. Only 67% were on track, and they were more likely to be unsure if they were on track. 25% were unsure. So I highlight this for a couple of reasons. One, this is a short presentation of a large report, and it highlights something that appears in the report a lot. First, there are often big differences between the experiences of students who have parents who attended college and students who would be the first in their families to go to college. We highlight this several times in the report, and it plays out in several different ways across a student's trajectory. Second, this report repeatedly highlights that there's room for engagement around college readiness and post-secondary plans, as students are often unsure about processes, policies, opportunities, and the transition out of high school. So I'm highlighting those two things, and you'll see them throughout the rest of the presentation, but you'll also see them a lot more in the report. The next slide. Thanks so much. So here's another example of what we might consider an information gap for students. About 350 students who said they were not on track to complete A to G indicated why they were not on track in the survey. So about 43% of students indicated that their grades were too low. And so if you don't pass the classes with a C or better, oftentimes the course doesn't count toward the A to G requirement. and that could keep you from being A to G compliant and being eligible for a UC or CSU. About a third said they didn't need A to G to attend their college of choice, and that's true. Community colleges don't require A to G. Out-of-state schools don't recognize A to G. Private schools. So some students did not need that and did not need to be A to G. However, about 29% of students reported just not knowing about the A to G requirements. So getting information to these students might be a big step in potentially getting them to become eligible for a four-year university in California. It's also worth noting that 5% of students here who were not on track reported not thinking their school had offered all of the courses in the A to G sequence. Next slide. So next we move on to another college readiness topic, dual enrollment. Dual enrollment classes, for those of you who don't know, are college courses that students can take while in high school, giving them the opportunity to prepare directly for college and earn college credits while still in high school. So some of these courses happen online, some happen on college campuses, and some right in their own high schools. Approximately 39% of our respondents reported taking dual enrollment coursework. We asked the students who were enrolled in dual enrollment about why they took the classes, and students were able to mark multiple answers here. Most students said 52% said it reduced the number of college courses they would have to take once getting into a college or university. This is often true. It can help save money and time for students by getting some of those college requirements out of the way while they're in high school. About 40% of students said that they took the courses at least in part to improve their chances of being admitted at selective institutions. So perhaps taking these courses can make their applications for college look even better. Almost 1/3 of students take dual enrollment because the course they wanted is not available at their high school. And about 6% said they take dual enrollment courses to be ready for a job or a trade after high school. 16% did mark other. Many explained about specific coursework they were interested in taking, like fashion or architecture. Some said they just wanted an extra challenge, and a lot of students said they just wanted to try out college, and this was a way for them to try out college, which I thought was super interesting. Next. So next, we asked students about career planning while they were in high school. And so it's pretty evident from our work that a majority of students are thinking about their future careers while in high school. 78% had a career in mind and were taking steps to prepare for it. The top two sources from which students indicated they learned about their future career, parents and, of course, social media. A number of students, 27%, also learned about from their family and friends, and 9% learned directly from colleges themselves. And here's a quote from a student we interviewed about being inspired from a family member. She said, "My older sister helped me getting interested in accounting and finance. High school helped me too because I took business classes and they had topics like accounting, which is what we learned about and did assignments on, which was interesting to me. And I can just say, as a former math teacher, it really warms my heart that as someone who's already interested in accounting at such a young age." So next slide, please. So we know that most students are thinking about careers and maybe even have a career in mind. We also asked them about career planning they did while in high school. So about 23% of students said yes when we asked them, did you do career planning while you were in high school? 35% were not sure, and 42% said they did not. So for all of those students, so 78% who have a future career in mind, this number is a little lower than we might expect. This might be another example of an opportunity as students are showing interest in careers, but have done little career planning in high school, or maybe are unsure they've done career planning in high school. Next slide, please. There's good news, though. Students do report being more likely to take courses related to their career. We asked, did you take courses related to your future career in high school? 40% said they did so, 18% weren't sure, and 42% again said they did not. So students may be unlikely to do official career planning, but many of them are taking courses they think are related to their future career, which is nice. So next. So in a big part of our survey, we focus on transfer students, and I'll go through kind of what the transfer process is in California if you're not familiar with it. Just under half of all the respondents in our survey were planning to attend a California community college. Community colleges offer many kinds of pathways, including training, certificates, associate's degrees, and even bachelor's degrees in some disciplines. But they also serve as a way for students to transfer to a four-year college, usually after completion of the equivalent of about 2 years of coursework. So in an ideal situation, a student might start at perhaps a local community college, complete 2 years of coursework, and then transfer to perhaps a UC or CSU through one of many defined pathways. Then they might complete a bachelor's degree at that institution. It's actually a pretty popular pathway in California. About one third of UC undergraduate enrollees each fall are transfers, and over 40% at the CSU are transfer students. So we asked those starting at a community college in the fall whether they plan to transfer. A vast majority, 72%, said they did in fact intend to transfer. About a third intended to transfer to the UC, about a third to the CSU, and 26% were unsure. And we asked one student we interviewed put it like this: I didn't want to pay tens of thousands of dollars to go to college when I could go to college for free, and then also just closeness to home. And it also allows me to work while I'm at school. So this student highlighted many of the reasons students often choose to use the transfer pathway. It can save students money. They can live at or they can live close to home, and they can often work while they're attending college. Next slide, please. So we actually asked all the students who said they were intending to transfer why they were choosing the transfer pathway, and students marked often multiple reasons they were intending to transfer. A vast majority of respondents, 72%, indicated that affordability played a role, just like the student in the quote from the last slide. Also, almost half of students, 47%, liked the community college's proximity to their home, and it played a role in selecting the transfer pathway. Other reasons students often cited they needed to work, about a third of students, the availability of transfer partnerships between community college and their four-year institution. So they saw kind of predefined pathways to get from a community college to their institution of choice. About a quarter of students said they were not academically ready for a four-year institution, indicating they are using the transfer route because they couldn't start at a four-year potentially. About 17% of students just felt more comfortable at their community colleges. And about 11% did not get into their college of choice, so they're starting at a community college, hopefully to transfer. Next slide, please. Here's one of those probably quarter of students who may have not been ready to start at a four-year university, who sees the transfer pathway as a fresh start. They said, I didn't get amazing grades or anything like that, so I wasn't sure if the colleges were going to accept me. Now I'm starting fresh at a community college, so hopefully I'll get the grades up, and then the higher GPA hopefully should give me a better chance of getting into a four-year college, and also to complete my required classes and my required units to be able to transfer. Next slide, please. Thanks. So in this survey, partially based on feedback from the report from last time, from this very meeting, people asked questions about the geography of students, and we didn't have the ability last report to do the geography of students. In this report, we made it a priority. So we were able to group students based on kind of the region their high school came from. So after affordability, the most popular reason for students choosing the transfer pathway was proximity to a student's home. We were able to map the responses for those who chose proximity as one of the reasons for choosing the pathway. The purple and green regions here, which we call the Superior region, which many of us are in right now, because Sacramento is a part of that region, and the North Coast region up over here on the left in green. Those regions were a little more likely. The students were a little more likely to select proximity as a factor than students in the lighter colored regions. We found that those students in the northern regions cited proximity at 57% at Superior, and 65% on the North Coast, thanks. And notice that there are fewer CSUs and UCs in those regions. So students might see universities as further away or kind of a further reach than students in other regions. And if we go to the next slide, please. Oh yeah, so after asking students about the transition to college, we asked students about challenges they might face or expectations they have of college. And our 16 interviews with seniors over Zoom were really helpful here. Students spoke a lot about concern about whether they could afford college. And this is true for students at all different types of institutions, from CSUs, from UCs, from community colleges, from private institutions. But they were concerned about a lot more too. So here's one of the quotes from one of the interviews. The biggest challenge I'll face in college will be managing my time and trying to find a balance between academics, social life, work, and more. I fear that I will be overwhelmed by the pressures and responsibilities that I have to endure to achieve my goals and become successful in college. So this student and others were worried about how to balance it all, and that was a common theme, kind of figuring out how to strike that balance, including working to pay for college, which a majority of students in our survey plan to do, regardless of college. Next slide, please. We also focused interviews on students who were planning to transfer. So again, these are students starting at community college who hope to transfer to a four-year institution. Some were worried they wouldn't be able to transfer to their dream school. Others were worried about being able to afford it once they did. Some were concerned about what courses to take, others about where to transfer. So I have a couple quotes here. One student said, "I'm worried about being able to transfer to the university I want to attend and financial concerns, fearing of not being able to afford 4 years of university tuition." Others were concerned with how long it might take them to transfer. So the student said, "I'm concerned with the amount of time it might take me to fulfill the credits and courses needed to properly transfer to the university of my choice. I'm also worried about how academically successful my GPA will be, especially when compared to my GPA now when it is time for me to transfer." So while students were planning to transfer among pathway, in fact, the majority of students starting at community college in our survey were planning to transfer. Some are unsure about how successful they'll be or how they'll be able to afford the institution once they get there, the four-year institution. However, through our interviews and through our survey and asking about expectations and excitement about college, we generally found that students were optimistic about their futures. So we'll end on a couple quotes about why students are excited about college. Common themes were learning more about themselves, developing and following passions, often thinking about their future careers. Some students were excited about independence and moving away from home. And some were excited about actually returning to their communities and helping their communities after graduation. So a couple quotes here. "I'm excited to learn more about myself through engaging with my academics and campus culture. I want to connect with my peers and professors, especially those related to my study, English, to figure out how I want to approach a professional career following college." And I also mentioned that students were concerned about affordability. Students and families are always concerned about affordability. But here, some students were even excited about the financial aid and financial help they would be receiving. The student here says, "I'm excited about all the financial help the school is giving me and being the first in my family to have the opportunity to attend college. And also the help the college staff is giving me as an immigrant student." So I do want to end on these optimistic quotes. It's just a highlight as the report is online. I really do hope you get a chance to read it. There's so much more in there. We have breakdowns on most of these questions. If you have any questions for me, I'd love to answer them today. And if you have any questions after you read the report and you want to ask me later, reach out. I love to talk about research. Thanks. I'm going to throw it back to Shannon.
Great. Thank you so much, Jake. We're going to keep you on, but we're going to invite Dr. Heather Daniel, C2C's Research Data Specialist, to join us for this part of the discussion. She's been leading these efforts along with Jake this year, and so she is also available. So welcome, Heather. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have one question that's in the chat, or the Q&A. So if you have any additional questions that you want to ask, this is your open invitation. Please feel free to drop them in now. And then we might have a question for you if time allows. So just turning to Yasemin, you have asked to what extent C2C is tracking disability status and data collection and reporting efforts. Looks like Judy is replying to this, but I will also just share. This is a C2C specific question, so I'm glad to take this one. But if you are curious about the data points that C2C has available or will have available, we have a document called Data Elements by Provider that has the most relevant, salient, timely information about where we are in that process. And so I just wanted to share that. I'm going to drop that into the chat here, but there's a couple of different data points provided by a few different data providers. So if you want to learn more about that, you can use this PDF. I will make a plug. As we talk about our 5-year anniversary, one thing that I'm personally excited about is revising and revamping our C2C website based on feedback from the public. So we're hoping to make information about our data points and available data more readily available and accessible to you also. Thank you for the question and stay tuned for more updates. Okay, that was not around the student experience report. So does anybody have any questions for Jake or Heather today about this year's report? Okay, then we're going to call an audible. And Heather, would you like to reach out to the group today with your question for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to hear if anybody has any feedback on what kind of questions they'd be interested in around students who are transitioning from high school to college. So just kind of thinking forward, of course, no promises that this could be incorporated, but just wanting to generate maybe some ideas about what people are thinking about, what they're really interested in when it comes to this transition.
And I'll just add some of the ideas for this year's report came from this discussion last year. So your ideas might be super helpful and be used.
Indeed. And you hear that people are responding real time. The mapping and the geography came directly from you all. So just appreciate the feedback that you give and just know that we are continuously trying to improve the process and the ways that we're providing information. And so this community conversation directly informs what comes next. I just want to give a plug for that. So just voicing this over, Jada says students' reference for online or preference for online versus in-person courses as a reason for choosing community college. Shayla says she'd be interested in learning how many students are considering medical school in their path while in community college. Sauce says, honestly, would need to think deeper about that, but career awareness as they enter community college, particularly for students who are first generation. Mirtha says, impact of outside factors, immigration, climate, economic landscape, and choice of college. Great. Thank you for that. Keep those coming. If you have more thoughts, more questions, again, this is an open invitation. That'll be good. Okay, we've got one from the chat or from the Q&A. Researchers, did any of this year's results surprise you? This is coming from Leslie Taylor. We're going to answer this live, Leslie.
Oh, great. Thanks, Leslie. Yeah, all of them surprised me. We don't often get insight into high school seniors as they make this kind of important transition. Some of them you might think, oh, of course, students are wanting to go to college and students feel this way about being prepared for college. But like I mentioned earlier, some of the reasons students take dual enrollment kind of surprised me. And so students wrote in that, hey, they were really interested in one topic, and that one topic is the reason they wanted to enroll in dual enrollment. I thought I got a kick out of they just wanted to try out college. I thought it was a cheap and easy way to try out college. I thought that was a really great response to why students might enroll in dual enrollment rather than trying to reduce the number of courses in college or improve chances of admission. I like that answer. And I will say that I was pleasantly surprised at how optimistic all the people we interviewed and all the people who answered the survey were about college. And it, the backdrop of this, we asked a lot of questions about concerns. We asked a lot of questions about affordability. And in the end, when students answered questions, they were excited to go to college. They were excited about being independent. They were excited about, like I said, coming back to their communities. I wouldn't say I was surprised by that, because I do think students are pretty optimistic, but I was it was a pleasant kind of surprise. I was glad that they were.
Great. Thank you. All right. Well, I'm going to give us a couple more minutes, or we may just wrap up for the day. I'm going to go back to the chat. Vanessa says it's a helpful report. I'd be curious to see data for students classified as English learners.
I love that
So
idea.
thank you for that. And then we've gotten some thank yous in the chat as well. So just appreciation for this year's report. Okay. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up for today's session. Just a huge thank you again to Jake Jackson for joining us today. We appreciate your time and commitment and for this report. And thank you all for joining us and being in community with us. We love to be able to share the findings. We love to hear about what you want to learn more about and how we can improve systems to make things more equitable for California students. So we appreciate you joining. And I will share that I did not share this in the slide today, but we'd be grateful as always. We try to make these meetings accessible. We know this. We have interpreters. Leticia is joining us on the line today. But if you have the time, I'm going to drop in As always, our language access survey. If you speak a language at home that is not English, or you work with folks who are not native English speakers, we want to make sure that we are making our meetings as accessible as possible. So this is a standing request for you to please take that survey on behalf of C2C. We really appreciate it. But otherwise, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to us. You can email us at info@c2c.ca.gov. We appreciate that. If you have any questions for Jake that you want to funnel through us, feel free to send the email that way. And then as always, just if you have any more thoughts, want to join, be informed about what's coming down the pike. If you want to know when that California Competes podcast is coming out, you can sign up for updates at c2c.ca.gov, ways to get involved, and we would love to have you follow us along. But we appreciate you joining. I hope you have a good rest of your Wednesday afternoon and good rest of your week. And I hope to see you at the opening ceremony virtually. See you soon. Thank you all. Bye.